Hello guys, very welcome to this tutorial. In this tutorial I will show you two ways how to move geometry along the curve. What it can be useful for example, if you have something like this. As you already saw here, I just move a collider along the curve and this collider is destructing the terrain. Okay, let's begin with the simplest one. I use here as a curve the helix. I set its height to 0, the turns to 3, and I increase the radius to 10. On the other side, I have the test geometry laboratory, and I use the Path Deform. I show you first the result. You see we have first the following, our geometry is following the curve, and we have kind of tilt here. It's tilting 90 degrees till the middle and goes back to 0 again here. Okay, let's see how we can achieve this. We have to create the Path Deform node. The first input goes to test geometry, the second input goes to the path, and as you see here, you can now animate this guy and you'll get this follow motion. Here you have a rotation. You can animate it manually, or you can just use ramp, as I did in my example. What it's actually doing, it's remapping the value, what you put here, between 0 and 1. In this case, if you put 90 here, it will just begin with 0. And at the end you'll get this 90 degree. But what we'd like to do here, we like to remap it, because we like to have in the middle 90 and at the end 0 again. Now you see what it's doing now. It is rotating now. In the middle you have 90 degrees and it goes back to 0. Okay, great. Now we move to the second example. It's a bit complicated. For this I use a curve node. As you're already familiar with curve node, what it's actually doing, it just cutting your curve from the beginning, or if you like to have the cut it from the back, you can do it also with second U value. Okay, let's see how we can first achieve the move along curve moment, and then we will go to this tilting rotation. Okay, I use the curve node here. And now what I like to do, if you look carefully on your curve, you have the first point, number 0. What I like to do it, I like to blast it. And I like to just keep only this point here. What you can do here, you can go to the points and you can say just keep 0 and delete everything else. You see now we have this point running along the curve. What you can do now, you can use the copy to point node. I just copy this guy here. Just put your geometry to the first input and the second input goes to your point. And now if you look carefully on your geometry, this geometry will follow the curve. But we have a little issue here, because if you look at this example, it's perfectly oriented along the curve, this guy not. What we can do here, before curve, I will do resample, because this resample has very useful attribute, tangent U. If you look at this attribute, first I have to cook it. Let's see what the tangent U is showing us. If you look carefully here, it's giving you the orientation along the curve. And as you already know, that the copy to point not use the normals for orienting incoming geometry, we will just say here, we don't need the tangent u, we need a normals. And if you look now on your geometry, it's perfectly follow along your curve. Okay, now let's just move on to the rotation. For the rotation, we will use another useful attribute of resample, the curve u attribute. What is curve u attribute actually doing? I show you here. We just activate curve u. Curve u. What it's doing is just saying, okay, at the beginning you are 0, go along the curve and increase your value until 1. And as you're already familiar with this guy, what we did also here, we also have some kind of value from 0 to 1. What we have to do now, we have to remap it, just like we did here, that it goes from the beginning from 0 to 1 in the middle and goes back to 0 again. Okay, let's do it. After resample, we will do, we use a wrangle node and we resample f at curve u with a ramp, with a channel ramp. I give a name to this channel ramp. I just say this will be our curve u ramp. And I like to remap curve u value, f at curve u. Close the parentheses, semicolon. And now if you look at here after the ramp, what it's actually doing, it's doing it now nothing because we have to create first the ramp. Now we have no change because it's doing the same thing. It's going from 0 to 1. But if you remap it now, like we did it in the first example, you will see that you have now the values. Let's see if I did any typo here. Curve u, you see I did wrong here. First curve u, and now you see we just go from 0 to 1 and from 1 to 0 again here. Okay, great. Now we have this value on our point 2. Okay, let's see this, because as you already know, this point will inherit this attribute because we have this attribute now on the point. I show you here, you see on this point, you have your curve u attribute. Why it's not showing curve u? Let's see, curve u, that's perfect. We're blasting this. Actually, we have here curve u attribute. Why it's not showing here? Okay, guys, this was an issue with this geometry spreadsheet. You have to just click here and refresh it, and then you will get this value here. You see you have your curve u. I just say here curve u because I like to filter it with curve u. And if you look now on your curve node, you have to first just pin it. And if you look now carefully on your curve u attribute of your point, it's go from 0 to 1 and goes back to 0 again. Okay, let's see how we can grab this value of this curve u attribute and read it here on the transform node, because what we like to do here, we like to rotate our geometry along the axis. Okay, let's do it. For this, we will use the point expression, and we will read the attribute curve u of the first point. And as you already know, the indexation begins with a 0. We will just read the point attribute curve u of point number 0 with index 0, because the curve U can be a vector attribute that's containing 3 values. In our case, it's a float, it's only 1. That's why the index of this attribute is also 0. Let's use this here. I just write here point. I open the parenthesis, and you see you will get this help. First, we'd like to go out of the transform node here with this point slash. I grab my blast 2, and I say point number. You see surface node we already have. Point number will be 0. Our attribute is curve U. And as you already know, we need the index number 0. And you see now we get something here, but the value goes from 0 to 1 and back. What we'd like to do here, we'd like to multiply it by 90. And now if you look here, if you go to your curve node and you use it, it begins with 0, rotates until 90, and goes back to 0. Okay, guys, that's it for this tutorial. If you have questions, just ask me. If you like this tutorial, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching. Bye.